What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a deck centered around Umbreon and Eeveelutions, two different versions of this deck. This first version is centered around Disruption, and the only reason I'm doing a Disruption version of this deck is because Orabomb went on and on about how amazing this deck is going to be and how good it is, so I was like, you know what, I prefer the Zoroark version, which is the one I'm showing you second, but if Orabomb says it's going to be really good, I at least have to try it. So you guys can blame him for that. I might actually blame him depending on how this live goes. But before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, Burning Shadows, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I am ridiculously excited for this. I mean, I say that for every set, but Burning Shadows has one card that I'm super excited for, and so I'm just going to make my question of the day that, what card are you most excited for from Burning Shadows? Without question, mine is going to be that Darkrai GX, just because it helps my favorite deck, it helps my favorite deck, Turbo Darkrai and Expanded, immensely, because a Battle Compressor turns immediately into a Darkrai and an energy on your bench just because of its ability. I mean, that's how strong Darkrai GX is going to be. It's going to give me another out to safeguard Mons. I mean, granted, when that new Ninetales eventually comes out, it's going to be a big problem. But yeah, I'm just really excited for that Darkrai GX. I mean, it fits in perfectly, gives me an out to things like Carbink. It's a non-EX. I mean, there's just so many things that I like about that new Darkrai that I'm really excited about. And also, I mean, there's going to be the new Secret Rares, which will be cool, but it's going to break the bank, so I'm not as excited about the Secret Rares. I mean, I'll be excited once I have them, but at the current time, I'm just kind of like, I don't really like them all that much, just because, I mean, cha-ching, that's all that the Pokemon Company hears when they do it, is just a whole bunch of dollar signs, while we are unfortunate enough to be like, well, we don't want to, but we have to, so we got to do it. So anyway, let me know which of the Burning Shadows cards you guys are most excited about in the comment section down below, and why. I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. But anyway, on to the deck, or this version of the deck. Obviously, it is centered around Umbreon-GX, and I have done an Umbreon Eeveelutions deck before, but one thing that did come out in Guardians Rising, which, I mean, I'm obviously doing an updated version of this, was Choice Band. Now, Umbreon-GX initially with Shadow Bullet, I mean, it was hitting for good damage, hitting for 180, but it really was just missing out on all of those knockouts, I mean, when hitting for weakness. Choice Band turns that 180 damage, where you just miss out on knockouts, to 240, to where you're knocking out almost everything except for like Metagross and Solgaleo and Lunala, I think. But, I mean, Lunala is never seen anyway. But either way, Choice Band was a gigantic boon for it, as all of a sudden you are able to hit for those magic numbers when you're hitting for weakness because of the other Eeveelutions. And it really just helps out the deck a ton and actually makes this card, in theory, work a lot better. And in practice, it's worked pretty well so far. I mean, I ran up against a Decidueye deck, was able to one-shot 2 straight Decidueye because I had a Flareon in play, and I was able to Shadow Bullet with the Choice Band to knock out 2 Decidueye. Sorry, I'm like half hiccuping right now while I'm trying to talk, so sorry about that. But either way, I mean, Choice Band just allows it to just get over the hump just a little bit. I mean, it allows it to one-shot things like Shaman, even though nobody runs Shaman anymore. And then you have to be very deliberate with your Shadow Bullet, 30 damage, just setting up knockouts. But either way, I mean, it's a very cool combination that I wanted to try out once again. And again, would just go with Zoroark, but Orabomb told me how good the Disruption version of this deck is going to be, so I decided that I had to try it for myself. As for the numbers of Pokemon, obviously 4 Eevee, because, I mean, this deck is centered around Umbreon and Eeveelutions, so we want to have as many Eevee as possible to be able to evolve into Eeveelutions and also into Umbreon as well. 1/1/1 of all the type-adding Eeveelutions, just because, I mean, in every single matchup you're not going to need you're not going to need all three in every single matchup. In fact, in most matchups, you're pretty much only going to need one. So that is one of those, and then 3 Umbreon, and that's how you go about the match. And then the 4 Eevee allow you to get that one type adding Eeveelution, and then the 3 Umbreon. 2-1 of Shaymin and Lele. People have been leaning more and more towards not running Shaymin at all, and I completely understand why. As a matter of personal preference, I still like running Shaymin in a deck just in case you need a little bit more extension during a turn. Yes, it's easily picked off. It's a target. Like, it allows you to play more items, which can hurt against Garbodor. But I just like having that option available to me. I mean, you don't have to play down Shaymin if you have it in the deck, but I just like it as an added option. Again, that's personal preference for me. Do whatever you guys think is best in that slot. Maybe just add another Lele, but we still have 2 Leles there for Wonder Tag, and then 2 Wobbuffets for Bide Barricade. Kind of slow down ability-reliant decks of our opponent. And then something kind of cool that we can do with this deck is you can use Umbreon to strafe into Wobbuffet. That way you have all of your abilities during your turn. Then you just strafe into Wobbuffet, hit your opponent for some damage, and then shut off their abilities for the turn. So it's a little kind of cool combination that you can work with right there that does end up doing pretty decently in some situations. And really just kind of goes along with this whole theme of disruption that we got going here. Speaking of disruption, I'm triggered by the fact that I'm running 4 Crushing Hammer, sorry. I mean, just get rid of energy on the board. Umbreon's GX attack is very conducive with that. I mean, with like Team Flare, Grunt, Crushing Hammer, and Umbreon, you can get rid of 4 energy on the board at once, which can be very, very devastating for some decks. 1 Escape Rope. 2, just kind of get something out of the active that we don't want there. Say we have a Wobbuffet there to start, and we kind of want to be able to use our Energy Evolution, Setup, Wonder Tag, all of those. We can Escape Rope, get Wobbuffet out of there. 1 Field Blower, get rid of annoying things like Choice Band, Float Stone on Garbotox and Garbodor, stuff like that. Get rid of annoying stadiums. 1 Rescue Stretcher to just kind of recur Pokemon, be able to grab 1 right back to the hand or shuffle 3 into the deck in the situation where we need to. We run enough Darkness Energy to where we really don't need to recur energy, as Umbreon will only really ever have a DCE and 1 Darkness Energy on it, and since we run 7 Darkness Energy, we don't need to really worry about recurring that all too much. 4 Ultra Ball guaranteed get us what we want when we want. 4 VS Seeker let us reuse all of our supporters. And then as for these supporters, standard 3-3-2 line of Sycamore and Lysandre, just kind of what I'm comfortable with at this point. And so, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. 2 of the Team Flare Grunt, just to go along with the whole energy denial thing. And Team Skull Grunt to get rid of energy from our opponent's hand. Can be devastating if you're up against a deck that runs like only 4 DCE and you're able to Team Skull Grunt them out of 1 or 2 early on. That would be very, very strong. As for the stadiums, Alter the Moon to give free retreat to all of our Mons, and then Parallel City. This thing is rotating out, so it's kind of a, well, better use it now, or you won't be able to use it in the future. So, yeah, Parallel City's there to limit our opponent's bench space. 3 Choice Bands to be able to hit harder and have them when we need them. 2 Float Stone to give free retreat to Wobbuffet and our other Eeveelutions. That way we don't have to waste an attachment for the turn on them. But Float Stone plus Alter the Moon give us plenty of options to retreat if we have to resort to that. 4 DCE, just because, I mean, that's what allows us to power up Umbreon, lets us attack with Shaymin and Lele, that type of stuff. And then 7 Darkness Energy so that we can have those to use Energy Evolution from Eevee to evolve straight from Eevee into Umbreon. So yeah, this is the disruption version of the deck that I'm going to be using first. And then we also have, where is it? Oh, it's right next to it, duh. And then that's the same disruption version. There we go. Alright, and then we're going to be using this Zoroark version of the deck that I really like. So basically the only difference is we're running Zoroark, and instead of things like Vaporeon, we are running just Flareon. Now, to be fair, I can see merit in running Vaporeon for like a Volcanion matchup if you run up into that a lot, in which case I would say get rid of the Lillie and put a Vaporeon right there, or maybe get rid of Oranguru and put Vaporeon right there. But this deck, because we had to add a line, or because we did add a line of 3-3-2 of Zoroark, and Zoroark Break, This, in my opinion, is the better version of the deck, but if you do run into Volcanion a lot, because of the Zoroark line, we are a lot more pressed for space, so we can't just freely add in all the Eeveelutions like we did in the last version. So I would say get rid of Lillie, probably. Yeah, in fact, I would definitely say get rid of Lillie for a Vaporeon. I don't know, I just kind of like Lillie, even though Lele into Brigette is the far superior turn 1, and honestly not fully sure why I have Lillie. I don't know, Lillie's just something that is just very underappreciated, admittedly for pretty good reason at this point, but I just still like having it there just in case, that type of thing. So, I mean, if you want my opinion, get rid of Lillie, put in a Vaporeon right there, so that way Volcanion kind of becomes an auto win for you. Otherwise, you can use it as is, because that's how I'm going to use it. But yeah, those are the decks, so let's go ahead and see them in action. Alrighty, we have found one against what appears to be a Metagross deck, I'm thinking. At least that's what it looks like. And we do win the coin flip, meaning we will get to go first, and that is phenomenal. I'm hoping I'll be able to take advantage of my opponent's my opponent's slow start. I mean, at least I'm working under the assumption that this is a Metagross deck. It really does look like it. Well, yeah, now we just get confirmation by seeing the Metagross right there. My hand is much, much less than ideal. I mean, on the bright side, I'm going to be getting a couple mulligan cards, but I can get an Umbreon, I can set up a Parallel City, I can Skull Grunt a couple energy away from my opponent's hands. I mean, not all's lost, but, I mean, at the same time, I'm probably just going to get a completely new hand, given how many cards my opponent is mulliganing. So, they finally get a starter. I'm probably going to get like 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so yeah, I get 4. Still no draw supporter. Oh, that's interesting. So what I'm going to do, play down an Eevee, play down a Darkness Energy onto the active Eevee. I'm probably going to leave the benched Eevee for a Flareon. That way I can potentially start one-shotting. That way I can potentially one-shot Metagross, and I'm able to Skull Grunt, get rid of 2... Wow. Get rid of 2 Metal Energies, and if my opponent doesn't top deck anything, I think I pretty much just win, I'll be honest. So yeah, let's just end the turn right there. And if my opponent doesn't top deck out of it, then we are going to take an easy win. We do see the level ball come down. Probably going to search... a Vulpix, so definitely the good play. That is the right play right there. I'm... Float Stone, yeah. So my opponent is making the right plays, getting a Beldum out of dodge, bringing the Vulpix active. That way he can search for like a... He can search for a Lele and maybe another Beldum or a Metang or something like that to get Metagross set up. This is actually going to be a pretty tricky... No Lele. Huh. Well, I mean, if my opponent wants to rely on that, then go ahead. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and Field Blower, get rid of the Float Stone off the Metang, throw a DCE onto Umbreon, and then Shadow Bullet, knock out the Vulpix, and get 30 damage onto the Beldum. Just realized I don't have the... Yeah, whatever. I get an Ultra Ball, which means that I will be able to search out a Lele this turn. We do see the Field Blower come down, which is actually going to be pretty significant in terms of the damage that I can get down onto Metagross in order for it to be a knockout with a Flareon. So we see a Choice Band come down onto the Beldum, and my opponent did top deck a Sycamore, so that's really unfortunate right there, because if he hadn't top decked that, then I'm pretty sure we would have been able to just completely steamroll him at that point. He is starting to get set up, and once a Metagross gets set up, this is actually going to be very, very tricky. Well, especially given that my opponent got rid of my Choice Band, which is one thing that would have allowed me to one-shot a Metagross after I put 30 damage onto it with Shadow Bullet, because otherwise it's just a 2-hit KO, and my opponent can just easily knock me out of it, or Max Potion his way out of it. What I'm going to do right there is Ultra Ball grab. I could grab a Flareon, but I think I'm just going to grab a Lele. Yeah, I think I'm just going to grab a Lele for the time being. Really wish I had the Zoroark version of this deck, but, I mean, that's what I get for playing Disruption. As soon as I play Disruption, it's like, well, I wish I had the other version of this deck. But you know what? We're just going to keep rolling with it, play that down, play the Lele, grab a Sycamore. I'm not 100% not grabbing an N, and maybe... Yeah, I mean, the fact that we're against a Metagross deck is actually even worse because they can continually just... Ugh, that's harsh. That hurts a lot, seeing that Flareon. I wanted to wait, but I was like, you know what? I'm probably not going to draw into it, so I'm probably just going to hang on and... of course. So, I mean, on the bright side, we're ahead 2 prizes. If I can get another Eevee. I mean, I wanted to get another attacker up, so that's kind of why I did what I did. And Wobbuffet, if I can just, like, strafe into Wobbuffet repeatedly, then maybe I can get something going. But my opponent is starting to... He's got 1 Metagross set up. Okay, so he wastes the max potion on 30 damage. That's actually really good for me. Because the sooner he goes through his max potions, the sooner I can pile up damage with Shadow Bullet. And hopefully win the game off of that. So... He is just going to keep... I mean, my opponent's making all the right plays. Just play it slow, get everything out. And then ends, well, puts me down to 4, which, I mean, given my hand, isn't the worst thing in the world. And actually, this hand is quite a bit better. Although, if my opponent has a second Field Blower, getting rid of my second Choice Band will actually be a big problem. But, okay. So we do see an Evo Soda come out. But yeah, Wobbuffet, I think strafing into Wobbuffet with Flareon out might be the best way to go about this. I mean, unless I can spread 30 onto the Metagross and keep my Choice Band on my benched Flareon, then I'll be able to one-shot them if I'm able to... Or on my benched Umbreon, because then I'll be able to one-shot them with my Choice Banded Umbreon with a Flareon in play. And my opponent playing it slow, I mean, that's the way to play it. Just... slowly get Metagross set up, because once you get a bunch of Metagross set up, those things are incredibly difficult to take down. You're not going to be taking them down with any ease, and I'm getting rid of another VS Seeker, which is actually painful. But yeah, let's just Choice Band up the bench Umbreon and Sycamore. I'm going to get another prize this turn. But, there's no... Crap. There's no Eevee or any way to get an Eevee, so... I mean, this is why I don't really like the Disruption version of this deck. I mean, hey, I blame Aura. He told me that this version of the deck would be busted. I much prefer the Zoroark version, and even though, yes, I know I still chose to do it, blah, 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 all that stuff. Yeah, it still is my fault for choosing to do it. But at the same time, I blame Aura for giving me false hope about it. And he actually looks like he's going to be able to do a Giga Hammer this turn. Crap. And then if I Sycamore again, I'll be getting rid of my last 2 VS Seekers, which is something I really don't want to do. Because that'd be exceptionally bad if I got rid of my other VS Seekers. So I'm really hoping that maybe my opponent will end me or something like that. Or if he plays a Beldum down, then I can just easily... Then I can just Lysandre that thing up to where I only have to knock out 1 Metagross to win the game. But regardless, he is going to be able to Geotech System, go for a Giga Hammer, and then just continually recycle those energies. Actually, wait. Does he not have an energy? Well, I guess he only had 2 in the discard pile. So my Team Skull Grunt that I thought I was using to potentially disrupt him early game actually ends up being what's allowing him to get a Metagross. And he is going to end. That's honestly fine with me. It saves my VS Seekers. I'm just hoping I don't get ended to something that's absolutely atrocious. If I can get like an Eevee or something like that, well, that's actually bad. That's really bad. We even see he's got a max potion too. Please play it to get rid of that 30 damage. Please do it. Please, please, please. I would love that. And my opponent is going to algorithm because I don't have an N and because I'm at a low hand size. My opponent is going to be able to keep all 5 cards. And this is just starting to look bad. Like, I know I'm in the lead, But this game is going from bad to worse very, very, very quickly. The only solace I can take is if I'm somehow able to get rid of the energy on Metagross to where my opponent can't Giga Hammer. But I top deck Shaman, which is fantastic. Like, maybe I can get something good off of that, which I do. Let's Ultra Ball, get rid of the Lysandre and the Vaporeon, grab an Eevee. That way I can start getting that thing set up. And... oh no, please don't. Okay, good. So, get an Eevee. Gonna play that down. I could have Lysandre up the Beldum. That way I only have to get rid of one Metagross in order to win the game. But at this point, I just kind of had to go all out. And sweet, I have another Choice Band. So let's go ahead and retreat into my Choice Banded Umbreon. Play the Choice Band onto the Lele. And then let's strafe into Wobbuffet, I think. Yeah, let's go ahead and strafe into Wobbuffet. Sets up the Metagross to be knocked out by Shadow Bullet, by a super effective Shadow Bullet next turn. Let's see. So he is going to go ahead and Rare Candy up for a... oh my goodness, my opponent's going to have 4 Metagross. That's utterly terrifying. So I should have Lysandred up the Beldum. But, I mean, I needed this setup. I really did. Oh, crap. So, I misplayed very badly by throwing down that other Choice Band and not leaving it. Because now I'm going to have a ton of trouble knocking out this Metagross. Because even super effective, it's only going to hit for 180, which is 10 damage short. Which is actually really, really bad. So let's go ahead and promote this Umbreon. And then... obviously, I'm going to go ahead and grab Flareon. Like, that's just kind of a given. I need that at this point. There's Team Flare Grunt. Let's play that down, be able to hit super effectively. And, man, I really should not have played that Choice Band. And then let's play DCE onto the Lele. And... I want to play the Lele down now. Yes, I do. What should I grab? Let's grab N, I think. Yeah, let's grab N. And then let's end my opponent down. And what I might do... because I mean, it gives me a couple more cards, or it gives me an extra card anyway. And then let's go ahead and Shadow Bullet. Start hitting the Oranguru, because this way, if my opponent doesn't have a max potion, I will Lysandre up the Oranguru and then knock that thing out and the Metagross out at the same time with one Shadow Bullet. So I'm seriously kicking myself right now for playing that Choice Band onto the Lele. That was a very, very, very dumb play on my part. So... yeah, unfortunate right there. And I'm really just hoping my opponent doesn't have a max potion, but he's making the smart play, retreating into his other Metagross. Nah, dang it. That's huge. That is absolutely huge. Then he's going to be able to, yeah, Geotech System all those energy back onto Metagross. And this is just going from bad to worse really quickly. I mean, I'm staring down 4 Metagross GX. I have 3 prizes left to take. And I'm not going to be able to hit for any mess. I'm not going to be able to hit for, like, Okos or anything like that. So that Choice Band, big misplay. I mean, I know I keep going back to that. But if I had that Choice Band, if I kept it in my hand, I would have knocked out his Metagross. I would have knocked out one of his Metagross by now. And so I'd be 1 prize away. I would just have to target down that Oranguru, and I'd be able to win the game easily. But because I was impatient and I didn't hold on to my resources, I'm now suffering the consequences. So what I'm going to do is start loading up Lele. Let's get rid of the energy on Metagross. Retreat into my other Umbreon. And then I think just Shadow Bullet once again, maybe target down... do I want to target down Oranguru or another Metagross? I think I'm just going to target down Oranguru, or the other Metagross, sorry. This is going very poorly very quickly. So he is just going to Geotech System onto the active, retreat that thing out, and I'm hoping that I can run him out of max potions before I get put in a spot where I'll lose the game. So my opponent is going to VS Seeker, getting low on cards, but then again, so am I. Ooh, get a Sycamore. So my opponent is just... wow. Is he just going to... he might deck himself out. So, I mean, obviously he has enough energy in the discard pile, but only 3, actually. So there's enough energy in the discard pile to be able to Giga Hammer. He's going to be able to do that repeatedly. And maybe if I can stall long enough to get my opponent to deck out, I can potentially win? Maybe, possibly? I don't know. But regardless, this is getting very tricky. Yeah, there's another oh my gosh. Why couldn't one of his max potions be prized? Why? Alright, so we're hit for 150. Get a Crushing Hammer, which maybe can buy me a turn. No, it can't, because I miss it, and that's why I hate Crushing Hammer. It works against me, but never for me. And now I'm in a weird spot. So I'm obviously going to attach the energy to Lele. That's just kind of a given. And then I think I'm just going to Shadow Bullet. This is tough. So do I want a Dark Hall, actually? Get rid of a couple energy means that he can't attack this coming turn. Or do I want to Strafe? All 3 attacks have merit, but I think I'm just going to hit this Metagross for a ton, and then put 30 on a benched Metagross. Okay, so if I had been targeting down the Oranguru this entire time, I would be 30 damage away from knocking it out. My Umbreon is going to go down this turn. And yeah, I mean, this is so tricky because, I mean, Max Potion is a thing. So what I'm going to have to do is he's going to be able to knock out this Umbreon. What I'm going to have to do is 10 damage short with Lele on Oranguru. So he's going to knock my Umbreon out this turn with a Giga Hammer. So he's going to take a couple prizes there, and now it's technically an even game, but I feel like I'm very far behind. What I'm going to do is promote Umbreon. Or Lele. Let's promote Lele to get a good hit off, I think. And then here's another Crushing Hammer. Can I hit this one? This might help. Yes, it does. So let's just get rid of an energy off of Metagross. I can't Sycamore because I'd deck out and I'd lose. N would put cards back in my opponent's deck, and I don't want to do that. So how do I want to play this? It's VS Seeker for... yeah, let's grab Lysandre, because, I mean, I could have grabbed N, but at this point, deck out is a very real win con. And so let's bring up the Metagross, because I'll be able to knock it out with Lele. Yeah, let's bring up the Metagross. Let's retreat. Or do I want to energy drive? I think retreat into Umbreon. Retreat into Umbreon, and then Shadow Bullet the Oranguru as well. So, or do I want to Shadow Bullet the Metagross? Put it in range of something later. So yeah, let's hit the Metagross and hit the other Metagross. And what's funny, if I had been targeting down the Oranguru this whole time, I would have won by now, because that Shadow Bullet would have won me the game. Ah, man, that's... yeah. Really wish I had Zoroark. Ah, man. But either way, I mean, I was impatient, so that was 100% my fault. Like, it was completely my fault that I was impatient enough to where, my Umbreon would not be able to, well, to where I lost my Choice Band, which was huge. I wasn't direct with how I wanted to spread out my damage from Shadow Bullet, because if I was, I would have been able to win the game off the Oranguru. My opponent does end me, so deck out is no longer an option. I knew he must be hanging on to that, and I get a Darkness Energy, so this is... sorry about that, there was phone randomly going off in the background. He is going to be able to Giga Hammer me, hit me for 180 damage, and I think... Yeah, I mean, unless I get Lysandre off of this, I do just lose the game. But if I get Lysandre, I win. But I do not, so my opponent is going to be able to win the game off of that. Man, that was my fault. I mean, it 100% was my fault. Like, I misplayed that horribly. My opponent played it smart, got Metagross in play, and, I mean, I Energy Drive, and it's starting to freeze, so, yeah, I'm just out of here. And, man, just 30 damage short of winning the game. That's rough. So, I mean, my opponent played that smart. I did not. I played that impatiently. I wasted my resources. I was not direct with how I spread out my Shadow Bullet damage. Like, that was my fault. Like I said, if I had targeted down the Oranguru, then I would have been able to win. But my opponent did just play better than me that game, and I was just not... I mean, it came down to me not having a game plan against Metagross, and ended up costing me in the end. So, I mean, that was a pretty good first match, but I'm not ending on a loss, so let's go ahead and try to find another one with the Zoroark version of this deck. Alrighty, we have found another one against Finn Castle Gym with, well, are we up against another Metagross deck? I mean, I'd be much better equipped to handle it this time, just because, I mean, I actually have something that's... Well, this hand would have been great if I had a starter, but unfortunately, I do not. I mean, I can still Lele for Brigette later if I want to. So let's go ahead and take a quick mulligan. We start with a couple Eevees, so that's actually not bad at all. I'd like a couple Zorua to go with that. But you know what? I have a draw supporter. I have an energy. I'll be able to get an Umbreon, get a Stadium in play. And then N. Well, I draw an Umbreon, so I'm really hoping that my others aren't prized. Okay, good. I was about to say, if I drew into the only one that's in my deck and two of them are prized, I would just kind of cry. So what I'm going to do is play that there, play the Float Stone onto my Eevee, and then just end. Get a fresh hand, see if I can get Zorua or something like that. I do not, but I do draw into the Umbreon, which is really nice. Let's... So I'm going to try to bait my opponent into Field Blowering, because I do have another Choice Band in my hand. So I'm going to try to bait them into Field Blowering right now. And then see if I can waste that, because I do have the Choice Band in my hand. And I'm not making the mistake of last game to where I, you know, played all my Choice Bands way too early and ended up not having one when I needed it. I'm trying to bait out the Field Blower early on. And my opponent does end me. So I'm actually really glad I did not Ultra Ball away like my Umbreon or Zoroark or anything like that, because... I mean, now I get a fresh hand, and it's not ideal. It's not ideal, but it's workable. Well, especially the fact that I'll have to get rid of a VS Seeker to do it. So let's get rid of the... yeah, let's get rid of the VS Seeker and the Float Stone to grab... I think I want to grab Flareon early, so I can have that thing up and ready to go. So let's do that. Play that sucker down there. Play Lele down. And then, do I want to grab... Let's actually grab Brigette, because I know it's a little bit later than normal, but I want to get my Zoroark down, or a Zorua down. So let's grab two Zorua, or a Zorua, Eevee. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's just grab two Zorua and an Eevee. Play the... Do I want to play it? Yes. Let's go ahead and actually do that. And then strafe, set up the Rayquaza for a Shadow Bullet knockout next turn. This way I can evolve into a Zoroark, potentially get a Zoroark break up and going. Ooh, the Finding Fury Belt comes down and my opponent does just Sycamore. So this is pretty obviously a Solgaleo deck. I'd be very shocked if it wasn't. In fact... If this is like Lunala Genesect, that just wouldn't make much sense. And my opponent is about to get a Solgaleo up immediately. Wow. So that's actually kind of annoying / scary. And Genesect is starting to get powered up too. So my opponent is actually outspeeding me at this point, but Flareon is going to be invaluable. As long as my opponent doesn't have a... Oh, Alter of the Sun. That's even more annoying, because now he doesn't have weakness. Sigh. But, I mean, if I can draw into an Alter of the Moon off of my N, then I should be okay. Zoroark Break is actually going to be pretty amazing in this matchup because I'll be able to Sunsteel Strike for a single Darkness Energy, which will be pretty phenomenal, if I'm going to be completely honest. My opponent does just decide to completely power up Genesect, probably going to completely power up this Solgaleo as well, and throw an energy onto, or just, leaves them all one energy away. I can actually completely get on board with that. And unfortunately I have an N, and that's all I have for draw support, so my opponent is going to get a fresh hand as well, but I need to get something else going. He has a Solgaleo, and yeah, this is just not good. Let's Ultra Ball, grab... Well, I'm obviously going to get rid of the Lillie and the Tapu Lele. Maybe, if the game lets me. No, please don't. Okay, good. To grab another Zoroark, because Zoroark Break, I think, is going to be my way of winning this game. Let's go ahead and evolve into that. Play a Darkness. Do I want to evolve the Eevee, or do I want to put it on this Zoroark? That way I have Foul Play available to me. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then, unfortunately, I'm just going to have to strafe, because I wasn't able to draw into a DCE, and I think... Do I just want to put up Eevee to die? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that, because, I mean, that was another reason that I didn't want to evolve the Eevee, because my opponent could just Sunsteel Strike for an easy knockout on that Eevee, or on the Umbreon if I did choose to evolve it. This way, he just knocks out an Eevee with the Sunsteel Strike, or, well, has to promote Genesect in order to knock out the Eevee. I mean, either way, I'm having an Eevee go down, and I'm okay with having Eevee bite it, because, I mean, it's either that, or an Umbreon, or a Zoroark, or Flareon, all of which are actually very, very important. My opponent is making the smart play of Ultra Roading into Genesect, just taking the nice, easy knockout on Eevee. But if I draw into an Altar of the Moon, and a... What's he Lysandering? Is he going to Lysander Zoroark? Or Lele? He's going for Flareon. Houston, we have a big problem. Houston, we have a very big problem. Flareon was my way of actually, like, convincingly winning this. But now that Umbreon's about to go down, or that Flareon's about to go down, this is bad, but... And actually, I'm even happier that I chose not to evolve my Eevee now, because now if I get a Rescue Stretcher, or I can just Super Rod it back into the deck, I can still get it out again. And of course I draw into a VS Seeker right when I have a Sycamore that I'm about to play. So we lose a VS Seeker for no reason. Unfortunate, but it does happen. And I should be able to get some good damage off on Genesect this turn. So let's play that there. Ultra Ball. So theoretically, I can play my hand down to Oranguru, who can potentially get me something. And I think that's actually what I'm going to do. So let's go ahead and... Okay, so there's only the Super Rod. Let's grab Zoroark Break, because he'll be able to knock out Solgaleo. So let's play Zoroark Break down, play the Choice Band onto Lele. And, okay, fingers crossed that this Lele doesn't bite me in the butt again. But let's Oranguru, see if we can get something. We do not. I'm holding out. I'm holding out hope that I can get a... Flareon in one way or another. Like if I top deck my Super Rod, and I'll be able to put Flareon back in. But regardless, Zoroark is probably going to be my way of winning this. Yeah. So, okay, this is starting to get a little bit... Yeah, this is starting to get a little bit scary, because my opponent, all he has to do is attach an energy to Solgaleo, and then Ultra Road in. What's he Lysandering up? Is he going to bring up my Zoroark Break? Yeah, he is. Well, This is going from bad to worse very quickly, because now he's going to be able to knock out my Zoroark Break. Man, why is my opponent getting everything? Man, that's frustrating. It's like, yeah, I need a Lysandre right now, so I'm just immediately going to have one. Of course I'm going to have one. Why wouldn't you? So, yeah, he's going to just knock out this Zoroark Break, discard 2 energy off of his Genesect. This is bad. This is really not good. So all that effort that went into getting a Zoroark Break set up, and now I'm just going to lose it. That's honestly frustrating, to say the least. Yeah, that's actually insanely frustrating right there. Meanwhile, I just have a whole lot of nothing to work with. Man. So yeah, I'm getting slightly salty right now just because this game is going incredibly poorly for me. Let's see, I can N. I'm going to put the energy onto this Zoroark. Play the VS Seeker. I think I'm just going to N. Yeah, I'm going to N because it puts my opponent down to 4, puts me up to... puts me at 6, saves the DCE for later. Maybe I can get... Well, I get a Zoroark Break, but I really don't need it at this point. I am just going to go ahead and knock out... my opponent's Genesect with Umbreon. Take a couple prizes, and hopefully be in a position where I can win the game at some point with this second Zoroark Break. Because if my opponent... Okay, if my opponent has enough... If my opponent top-decked an energy and Lysandre and is able to knock out my Zoroark Break, then I quit. I quit forever. There's nothing I can do. And I'll probably just start crying. So my opponent does promote the Cosmog. Well, I mean, it really actually doesn't matter because he does have Ultra Road available to him. Gets a third Solgaleo. Holy crap. So, if this live has showed us anything, it's that Umbreon-GX decks are basically inviting Stage 2 decks to just go crazy and get 3 or 4 of them set up right in front of you. This is going from bad to worse really fast. But, as long as my opponent doesn't have the Lysandre, as long as he does not have the Lysandre, I should be actually in a pretty solid spot. Of course he has the VS Seeker. Please don't Lysandre in my Zoroark Break. Man, that would make me really, really sad if he did. But he actually is going to end. You know what? I'm okay with this. So, my opponent luckily couldn't Lysandre in my Zoroark Break because, yeah, that'd make me cry if he was able to do that. And I do draw into a Lysandre for later, which will be very, very nice. On the bright side, my opponent was not able to put another energy onto another Solgaleo. So that's going to work incredibly in my favor because he will not be able to Sunsteel Strike this coming turn. So what I'm going to do this turn is DCE up the Lele, just because, I mean, Lele with a DCE is never a bad thing to have. Let's throw back a... throw that back into the deck, throw the DC back into the deck, and then let's go ahead and Foul Play for a Sunsteel Strike, which will knock out Solgaleo. And now we're actually in a position to win the game. So, yeah, Zoroark Break just single-handedly turned the entire game around just by being able to copy any opponent's attack for 1 energy. And now, because my opponent wasn't able to get another energy onto his Solgaleo with 1 energy, now I'm going to be able to... I'm forcing my opponent to send up Rayquaza and Turbo Storm in order to accelerate energy, but I will be able to pull out the game right here because all I have to do is just attach a single energy onto my Zoroark, and well, there's the Super Rod. You're a little late. Let's go ahead and attach, evolve. Do I want a Field Blower? No, let's just go ahead and end this game. Lysandre up that Solgaleo, knock it out with a Sunsteel Strike. So Zoroark Break coming through and doing 520 damage in 2 attacks for a single energy each time. So that's pretty insane. Zoroark Break just coming through, doing what it does best, and yeah, just making our opponents wish they didn't have big attacks on their Pokemon. So luckily we were able to come through in this game. I know I was getting slightly salty towards the end, but Zoroark Break again able to come through And I do, once again, blame Aura for telling me that the Umbreon-GX Disruption version would be the better version of this deck. No, Zoroark Break is much, much better. And either way, hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.